Hey there, everybody. Pete here from Comic Book Geezers. Welcome to another edition of the show. And my comrade in arms today on the other end of the Zoom line, Mr. Kirk. What's going on, my friend?
Hey, how's it going, buddy? You
It's
know,
going good. We haven't seen you on the
yeah,
show in a little bit, so good to have you back during this crazy thing we call COVID-19 and snow in the Northeast. And Bill and I can't get together as often as we'd like, but we do it when we can. And I'm happy you have a nice working computer or phone that we can do Zoom when Bill and I can't get together in person, because we all know his computer, that's not happening, right? So
we got to work on that with our buddy Bill.
we do, yeah. Once we start making some money on this channel, we're gonna put some funds aside so we can get him a nice internet hookup and a computer. I think that's got to happen. So, but hopefully by then we won't have to worry about this COVID nonsense, and we can just go business as usual. So we'll see. So Kirk and I were talking recently, and he asked if we had ever done a show here on the pretty cool series called Marvel Feature, which another one of those series where Marvel kind of gave like the spotlight, like Marvel Spotlight, like Marvel Presents and Marvel Premiere, gave a character or a team like an issue or two or three to see how well it does before they launch it into their own book. And so Kirk is going to show us. I have a few, but he's got a lot more than I do, and he's got all the ones I have. So that they actually had two volumes, a volume 1 and volume 2 of Marvel Feature. What were they, about 5 years apart, something like that?
Yeah, about anyways from 3 to 5. I'm not, yeah.
Yeah,
But
so,
yeah, it was all 70s. So
all 70s stuff.
stuff.
And most people remember Marvel Feature as the launching pad for the Defenders. Really didn't launch Ant-Man like they thought it would, but also the launching pad for the Thing in the Marvel 2-in-1, basically.
Yeah.
And then some other stuff after that. So Kirk is going to show us what he's got there. So lead us in, my friend.
Well, it was funny because I was going through boxes. I'm rebagging, boarding, kind of organizing myself a little bit. And so I ended up pulling out the Marvel Features. Now, this is a cool cover. Now, here's the cool thing. I'm going through the boxes. What do I find? 2 copies.
Hey, your buddy needs one of those, right?
I was going to say that they're reader copies, but if you want, I'll set one aside for you.
Yes,
right?
I will buy that from you. Just put it aside.
Okay.
I'm glad I'm doing this show with you and Bill, because Bill would have done the same thing. He would have been all over that. So
yeah, so this cover was done by Neil Adams, so it's a sweet cover. I mean, and I recently just started rereading this stuff because actually you guys have done so much stuff on the Defenders, and the stories are really good.
Yeah.
I mean, if you like those characters, and again, some really solid stuff.
I will say he did a fantastic Hulk on that cover.
Neil Adams didn't sleep during the 70s. I don't know what this man was just doing books after books. Thankfully he did. I love his work, so I'm happy he did. But yeah, when I looked at the book, I was like, holy crap, that's Neil Adams. I'd forgotten he'd done the cover. So
I did too. Yeah, it's really good.
Number 2.
I have that one. That's a good one.
I don't have 3. It's the only one I'm missing off this run.
3 is with the Titan. Yeah, I don't have that one
either.
The Titan from the old Where Monsters Dwell, or Monsters on the Prowl, or one of those.
And it was great because then they launched it into the Defender book, which I think the early stuff is really good on that. Some of it gets later, it gets a little bit more wonky.
I think, I don't know, for me, the Defenders after like 50 or 75, I don't know. I love to get off the train, 30, 40 issues, and then it starts to, too many different member changes. And I don't know. It's like, for me, that early lineup, I mean, that's a pretty serious team right there, right? And then all of a sudden you got Doc Strange coming and going. You got Valkyrie and Nighthawk, and the Hulk is there. He's not there. Luke Cage, and, Namor's in, he's out. The Surfer's in, he's out. I'm like, oh, guys, come on. I get it. That was always supposed to be the mantra of that team. It's like whoever could be there when they could be there, that's what we're going to do. But I think that watered it down over time a little bit, for me anyway.
Yeah, I mean, the final lineup was like Moondragon, Angel, Iceman, Gargoyle. I'm like, come on, dude. It's just, to me, it didn't work. There might be people that would argue that, and I would respect that we agree to disagree. So
they built it up so good early on. You had right at the formation of the team, you had them battling the Avengers and that whole like crossover.
Yeah.
And that was great, because it's like, all right, this is, next to the Avengers and Fantastic Four, this is the next great team. And then they just kept like switching things around so much. So I was like, yeah, I don't know.
Well, they only lasted 3 issues in this, as we know, and then they moved on to Ant-Man. And again, these books are pretty good. I mean, and his first appearance has Peter Parker in it. So, but again, I think the Ant-Man, for whatever reason, just never got a decent break.
Yeah.
Not great writing. What is it? Egghead as a villain. I'm like that. That's one of those villains that like should have been a one shot. I noticed nobody's used that character in years, which is probably a good call. But I like Whirlwind, even though he's kind of in a little bit of a almost like a bondage outfit, but it's
he originated in the Avengers, right? He was originally okay, yeah. So they kind of
I think he might have also didn't he appear in Iron Man too?
Yeah, he did. Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. It's good. Some of these covers are pretty good too because it's Gil Kane. So you like and I'm a big Gil Kane fan. Yeah, he was another guy who did good. And I mean, I like this too because you know what, Hank Pym wasn't such a psycho at this point. Later on,
Not yet.
the story gets really dark, and I'm kind of like,
What's interesting is that they ran. So Ant-Man ran what, 5 issues in there? Was it 5 issues in Marvel Feature?
Yeah, 5. No, wait a minute, 7 issues.
Oh, 7 in
first
total.
3.
And it's funny because it's like I think they let's face it, they have been trying before that for like a decade to launch Ant-Man or Giant Man into his own issue, and it just never quite took off, right?
Yeah,
you had the Tales to Astonish stuff early on, right?
And they threw him out to put Namor in.
Yeah.
And good choice, in my opinion, because I'll be honest, I love the Namor stuff.
Yeah.
But I got to admit, that stuff is some of it's pretty cheesy. I don't think he ever had a good writer. And as things progressed, I think this stuff is actually some of the best Ant-Man stories.
I would agree with you. Yeah, because honestly, I've never been a fan of the character, whether it be solo or in the Avengers. And I think those issues in Marvel Feature are probably the most interesting for me. And then that didn't work. It didn't warrant a reboot of a new series. And then they tried again like a couple of years later in was it Marvel Premiere for an issue or 2, and that didn't do the trick either. So sometimes you can only go back to the well so many times, and there's a character that's just always going to be a good second fiddle or part of a larger cast and not meant to be a character to have their own book. That is a perfect example of one of those.
Yeah, I think there's always going to be your B-listers, like the guys, and they may make appearances here and there, and they may even have books where they have like a mini series or whatever that are solid, but carrying a monthly book is challenging.
Yeah.
Especially, I'll be honest, Hank Pym wasn't that interesting. Scott Lang is a little bit better. I liked the Marvel Premiere issues, but even that, it didn't sell well because they only did the 2 issues in Marvel Premiere and then they cut it. So I don't know.
I mean, not a big, powerful character. Superpower as well can shrink down to the size of an ant, and don't even get me started on the Wasp because I am not a fan of that character. So yeah, they tried.
I got to admit, I think the problem with her, I think too, is too much of a, she was very much stereotyped into that 60s damsel in distress with, and I think the writing was just, later on she got a little bit better in the Avengers, but again, I don't think she could carry her own book or anything.
No, you know what? Yeah. I mean, it's the writers. For me, the writers killed that character a long time ago. And then I despised her even more in like the Secret Wars books. I couldn't stand her dialogue in that entire run. I was like, oh my God, like they can't make it any worse for this character. It's like poor Janet. And then I'm like, oh, I've gotten to the point where anytime the Wasp is like featured in a book, I'm like, oh man, can't do it.
But you know what? They were able to bring Sue Richards into the modern era really well. That character is fleshed out, becomes very, Yeah, I don't know why nobody's ever been able to do it with the Wasp. As I said, I don't blame you can't blame a character. You got to blame the writers. And I just think the writers on for that
100%.
character have never been that strong in that aspect.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree with you.
I mean, the costume change bit too, where she was always changing her costumes. I was like, you know what? This is so stereotyped. Like, oh, I'm a girl. Let me go change my costume. I want to get pretty, pretty princess. I'm like, you know what? I'm like, this is insulting to women. I'm like,
Yeah.
no wonder only guys read these things. So, now I'm happy. It's like the writing's gotten better. And so now we have women reading them. So, all right.
Yeah.
But as I said, these are worth getting after we back these characters for a while. I like these, and also, but you got like the 70s monster in the back and stuff.
Oh,
yeah. And then battling out with the cat and doing that whole,
that's a good.
this stuff. I think this is good because this also plays to those like the Incredible Shrinking Man,
Yeah.
all those kind of old, movies from the 60s and 70s, which were great. So, definitely worth getting. These used to be dirt cheap. They're a little bit more now. They're not crazy, but what do you pay? Like anywhere from 5 to 10 for these, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can get like a real reader copy for like I bought one or two of them not long ago at one of the cons we went to, and they were really cheap, but they're not in great condition. So you can get like a 1.5 or 2 or 2.5 for like a couple bucks. But yeah, if you want to get a better copy, yeah, it's running about $10. Yeah.
Yeah, and as I said, they're really pretty good. So as I said, these are, if you like this character, you want to explore it. My recommendation would be these books as well as the 2 issues of Marvel Premiere, so you understand where Scott Lang came from. But after they finished with that, and as I said, they gave them 7 issues, and then they went back. They're like, still not working.
Yeah.
They went back and they started basically with the idea of pushing out for Marvel 2-in-1, which again, as it progressed, I think it got weaker, as did Marvel Team Up, near the end of it. But these books I always thought were fun. I love these like team up books.
Yeah. And you know what it is too? It's like both of those, both the 2-in-1 and Team Up, I think were very good. But like everything else in Marvel, as you went from 1979 to 80, 81, shit got really weak as the 80s started. Really bad storylines, not good art. And I think the one you're holding right there is the earliest one I ever had. I bought that off the rack back in whatever that was, 1974. So that's 74, I would think, right? 20 cents. And that for me is the best ever Hulk versus Thing battle.
You gotta, as I said, you gotta love when the big characters like that lock up. Admittedly, it's been done to death, and
it has. But you know what? I mean, there's a couple of reasons why that one's so special. First of all, Jim Starlin drew the whole thing, which is that's one.
Yeah. How do you?
But number 2, I think that was the most evenly matched battle between those two. Because a lot of times in the end, the Hulk always gets the best of the Thing. And, we know the Hulk is stronger, but I think they gave the Thing a little bit something in that issue. And that was a more closely matched battle. There was no real winner, right? They kind of, at the end, they kind of, say, all right, we got other things we got to take care of. But I think that was, for my money, the best back and forth battle between those two, that where it wasn't, the Hulk dominating at the end. Because, the Thing got his ass kicked by the Hulk plenty over the years. Not now.
But I got to say too, this is not that expensive in the book. I think it's one of the more expensive in this run, but it's not a bad. And again, I think it's well worth anything with Star.
Yeah, it should be, because when you think about it, that was the launch of the Marvel 2-in-1 book.
Yeah, because they only go back for one more issue, and then you get, and then that's it. That's the end of volume 1. Which, as I said, I think the whole run's worth getting. I'm just missing the 3rd one, which I've eyed a few copies recently. I'm kind of like hemming and hawing when I'm going to pull the trigger. So it's a whole big debate, because even a low grade on the 3rd Defender appearance, it's like $25 or something like that. It's not that cheap.
Yeah.
But, and I got to say, I bought that second. I bought the volume 2 first because I am a huge Red Sonja fan. And that was, and I know that we've discussed before Vampirella. I've got a whole issue here, but I married a redhead, so there's got to be some issues there. But but what do you call it? And she this was her break. This was her first solo story where she broke out from the Conan books, which, you know, and it's kind of funny because this character is now so popular. You know, Dynamite, I think, has the rights to the character. It was the only one out of the Robert E. Howard characters that they were able to keep. All the rest of the stuff went back to Marvel now, and Conan is in the Avengers. Don't even get me started on that. So, but this is a good run. The first issue is not done by Frank Thorne. I'm a huge Frank Thorne fan. He does like, and I'm going to be honest, if I come back in another life, I want to be Frank Thorne. First off, the guy can draw great. Then later in life, he ends up judging Red Sonja lookalike contests. He dressed up like a wizard, go to Comic-Cons, get invited, right? So he's not paying at the door. He's going in free. Yeah. And all of these young women are dressing up like Red Sonja for him. Think about that. But that's just a side note. God bless him. He's still alive. He's something like 92 or something. I think he lives.
Is he really? Holy cow! Wow.
Yeah, he's one of those guys, one of the last of the oldies that is still up and running. Because I've been looking to try to see if he'll do an appearance, but I don't know. He's not showing up at any cons or anything. Because I'd commission him to do an original sketch of Sonja for him. So
pull some of your strings, man. See if you can get him to come on the show here. Could you imagine that?
Oh, that would be awesome. But there's a second one. As I said, great stuff. You know, again, give credit where credit due. When Red Sonja first appeared in Conan, she wasn't wearing this outfit. Now here's the point. Who the hell gets into a sword fight in a metal bikini? I just saying, this made absolutely no sense.
None.
As an adult, you look back at this. As like a 13-year-old boy, I can totally understand why I was interested in this character.
What they got away with in the 70s, right?
Oh, yeah.
These are all good. I have a couple of these.
Yeah, these are good. You can get these at a reasonable price too. You should buy these if you don't have these, right?
I have a couple of them, yeah.
Oh yeah, these are good. And then now this one I'm ordering a new copy of because I found out how bad it is, but I love this cover. I mean,
I used to have that. I think I traded it when I was a kid. I had that for a couple of years, but I love that cover. Always have.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, this is just great stuff. I just looked at it and it was kind of like when I was digging it out like 2 weeks ago, I was like, this is pulverized. This must be my original copy. So I was like, I got to replace this. This thing looks like it got hit by a truck. So, because I mean, you can see like the tears along the side, everything. The cover looks detached. Somebody scribbled out the 25 cents. Oh, probably bought it at like a garage sale or something when I was a kid. Issue.
That's a good
5.
one. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, as I said, these are all Frank Thorne covers. He did the interior, everything. I mean, there
was something about Robert E. Howard's characters. They always had to be fighting like these giant killer bears or giant killer gorillas, right? I mean, that was just like a given. Every issue.
You know, I like too. They also did all like the H.P. Lovecraft characters too. There was always like some demon coming through Cthulhu. You know, it's like
Yep.
And then the final issue of the series, our man Conan shows up.
It's almost like they figure, well, we're kind of on the fence with this book, so if we let's put Conan in this issue, and if it does big business, we'll continue on. And then it didn't, so they killed it.
Yeah. Well, there was some sort of crossover going on, if I remember correctly. But God, yeah, just good stuff. Fun reads, and as I said, stuff that you won't find in a lot of places. Like these are the kind of books you got to really look hard for because. Most dealers are kind of like, I'm not going to buy a box of this stuff because how often does it really sell? People aren't. So.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Well, there you have a quick look at Marvel feature, not a long run. So what do we got in total? So that's what, about 20 issues in total?
12 and 7, so 19.
19. So not a long run, but some good stuff, though. Some good reading there.
Yeah, definitely good stuff.
And the good thing, if you're watching and you don't have any of those, with the exception of those first couple Defenders issues, you can get these fairly reasonably out there.
And you may want it, like the Marvel feature stuff is hard to get because for Red Sonja, because Marvel doesn't own the rights anymore. So they can't reproduce those books. Now, I know Dynamite was doing some stuff with it, but I don't think they're producing any sort of graphics. You can't pick up a graphic novel on that, so you have to buy the originals if you want to read them. In my opinion, they're worth reading, and they're reasonably priced. I mean, you pay $5 for a new book. you'll easily pay. You can pick these up for about $5 a piece.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Cool. All right, gang. So hope you like this little episode we put together for you. Kirk is coming back. We're going to both show off some recent acquisitions. So stay tuned for that over the next couple days. And then we'll be back with Wild Bill again sometime real soon. So thanks for watching. Make sure you click on that subscribe button. Give us a like, and we love your comments. So please put some comments in there. That we are always taking a look at those, and we appreciate everything you guys are writing. So for Kirk, I am Pete. See you guys real soon. Bye-bye.